This episode of Brown Girl Guild is sponsored by Rich Soul Foods. Rich Soul Foods is home to the highest quality St. Lucian sea moss in the entire world. They also specialize in high grade herbal teas like the ones I'm drinking right now. To be honest, my body is a yo yo. My hormones go up and down all the time, and it really impacts my overall mental and physical health. But that's all beginning to change because I've been drinking the St. John's Bush and red raspberry teas from Rich Soul Foods, which are both excellent for women's health and spreading love in our bodies, especially the womb. Check them out online at richsoulfoods.ca or on Instagram at richsoulfoods. They have such a wide selection of stuff that is good for you and makes you feel good. I'm guaranteed that you're going to find something that you love and loves you back. Hi friends, it's your girl Harpo. Welcome to this episode of Brown Girl Guild titled My First Kiss Went a Little Like This. If you're my mom and you're listening to this podcast episode, I've never kissed a boy. I've never even touched a boy. But if you're not my mom and you're listening to this podcast episode, I've kissed many men. And I'm going to talk about that here in this episode. This season, we're talking about teenage fever and how teenage fever is all about awkwardness and it's about growing pains and it's about, a sense of getting to know yourself. And something that is so characteristic of teenage fever is also a not knowingness. And what we're trying to say during this season at Brown Girl Guild is that not knowingness is not only confined to being a teenager. All that awkwardness, those growing pains, this being unsure of yourself and discovering yourself is not just a thing that you go through when you're a teenager. You can actually go through those like at multiple stages of your life, whether you're 14, whether you're, 22, you're 26, or you're 44. You can go through this not knowingness and experience this not knowingness at so many stages of your life. And kissing boys for me is something that I've experienced a not knowingness at multiple stages of my life. But I'm going to take it back to my first kiss because I love starting off with an epic story. And it seems like in my life, I have so many epic stories. So I guess actually, my first kiss is not that epic of a story in general. I mean, it's not like fireworks went off and like I was like under a boat or something. It's just that it was very characteristic and unique for me. So let me paint you a picture. My first kiss happened when I was 19. Yes, I waited till I was 19. I was this blue-haired sociology major who was spunky and fun and, not necessarily fully sure of herself yet, but had an idea that she wanted more from life. And I had safeguarded my first kiss for so long. I mean, I waited till I was 19, right? I had safeguarded my first kiss for so long, and it felt like I was walking around the world with like a lock on my mouth. And it's because I had made the idea of my first kiss such a big deal in my mind. I was really like, I wanted to be special. I want it to, happen very organically. I wanted to be with someone that is special. I don't just want it to happen with someone who, I just met or I'm never going to see again. And so I really safeguarded that moment. And obviously, I felt a lot of pressure from people around me at the time because, around me, there were people who had done far more than just kiss boys, right? They had already been having sex or they'd been doing other things. And so I always felt like perhaps I was a little bit behind everyone. And there was a part of me that was okay with it for sure because I was like, no, I want this moment to be very special. But then there was also a huge part of me that was like, is there something wrong with me? Like, how come nobody wants to kiss me? Not necessarily understanding that it's not that nobody else doesn't want to kiss me. It's just that I don't want to kiss them, right? But there was a part of me that was like, let's just get it over with, right? Like, what are we waiting for? Let's just get it over with. And so I constantly teetered between these two places in life. And then eventually it did happen when I was 19. So the way it happened was that, I was hanging out with this boy and, we'd been talking for a little while. We'd gone on a date or two. And he was this really cute guy, super tall, like just really cute guy. And do you see how like super tall is the equation of cute? It's not. I'm just saying he was super tall. His beard and his beard was lined up perfectly. He had a comb over. He was that type of guy, okay? And so we went to SFU together. We were at the Burnaby campus. It was such a nice summer day, and we'd been hanging out on the rooftop together. And eventually it was time for me to go home. And he so graciously walked me back to my car. And like when you just like anticipate something, you just feel like it's in the air, it's going to happen. That's how I felt walking back to my car. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen. He's going to do it. And I don't know what to do. And so all the while walking back to my car, and then even as we stood at the car making such stupid small talk, killing time, I was so in my head. I was like, oh my God, like, is it going to happen? Like, is he going to do it? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I going to do with my lips? Like, what should I do with my tongue? Like, where am I going to put my hands? How should I stand? Should I stand like this? Should I say something? Is he going to ask me if it's okay? There was just like so much overthinking going on in my 19-year-old brain. And eventually he did it. And I feel like I wasn't even like fully aware and conscious and alert while it was happening, because the entire time I was in my head asking those questions again and again on a loop. And so when it did happen, I felt like this entire buildup of all these years, of safeguarding that moment and really holding that moment out so that it was special and it was unique, was kind of not. And it's not because it wasn't a good kiss or it wasn't a nice person or it wasn't a good setting and it wasn't in a good context, but it's because I was so disconnected from the actual experience. I felt so disembodied in that experience. I feel like I had such a different expectation of the moment. And why wouldn't I? Because think about it. Pop culture references, all these movies that we watch, it's so romanticized. It's built up so beautifully. There's the right music, it's the right feeling. It's like you're not even the one kissing, you're watching someone kiss on screen, but you're still getting giddy and butterflies, right? And so I was really expecting that, but I didn't get that. And I feel like I never said that. I never actually painted that moment in the right, most accurate way, because immediately after, as I got in my car and started driving down Burnaby Mountain, I'd already called like 6 people to be like, "Oh my God, I finally got my first kiss." And so at that point, perhaps it was just like a box that I had to check off on a list and just say that I had done it already, and that it was over. And I want to speak to that not knowingness. So the feeling that I had when I was standing at my car waiting for him to kiss me is a feeling that hasn't fully gone away. I'm 25 now and I've kissed, my fair share of boys since then. And yet this not knowingness is still ever present. I mean, I don't know about any of you, but like, I feel like anytime I kiss someone for the first time, it feels like it's my first kiss again. It just feels like, okay, it's about to happen for the first time. And so I'm thinking again in my head, like, what am I going to do with my lips? Like, what am I going to do with my hands? How am I going to stand? Is he going to ask me? Do I have to say something? Should I initiate it? Should I play like a flirty little game? And also, brown girls, if you are listening to this and you know what to do with the tongue, please DM me, because I panic. I never know what to do with the freaking tongue. It's like in my mouth and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it, right? And so this not knowingness has persisted since I was 19, and I would say even earlier, because I mean, let's be real, like I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I didn't really grow up having healthy displays or healthy models of intimacy and affection in a brown household. I mean, okay, like put your hand up if your parents kiss. If you're brown and your parents have kissed in front of you, put your hand up. I'm sure there's probably like only like 0 of us, because it's true. I don't know about you guys, but my brown parents just don't kiss. And if they do, I cringe. I'm like, ew, bro, like get a fucking room. And that's because we have really shut that part away out of our homes, out of our communities. And we think about how much we cringe when there's like something on TV. White people kiss all the time. People's parents kiss all the freaking time, and they're not cringing over it. And so there's a problem there, right? A, we don't actually see it. So we don't know what it looks like. We don't know what like a healthy model of it and a cute little flirty model of it looks like. And then B, when we do see it, we want to shut ourselves away from it. So we attach a negative connotation to it. We're like, no, I don't want to see this. That's gross, right? So I feel like there's such a deep lack of example around us. And I think like also like a sense of naivety, because as I'm recording this, I'm thinking to myself, some of you Bollywood baddies will know the reference that I'm speaking of, and those of you who don't, I'll fill you in. But did you guys ever watch Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam as kids? And Ashwarya Rai's character, like anytime Salman Khan's character like tries to hug her, tries to hold her hand, tries to kiss her, she ends up going, "Nahi, bacha." She does that where She literally thinks that just because this guy is about to touch her, kiss her, hug her, that she's gonna get pregnant. And even though, like, now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, that's so freaking silly, sis. Like, there's no way that a boy touching your hand is gonna get pregnant. Because if that was gonna happen, we'd all be popping out babies left, right, and center. But the fact that that's what she thought, and I swear, like, I didn't think that, but I can really relate to the naivety and the innocence of Aishwarya Rai's character in that movie because I mean, how many of us were actually taught like how to actually enjoy and how to actually experience intimacy in different versions and different forms, right? It just didn't happen. I think the other thing that happened for me a lot growing up, which still persists till this day, to be quite honest, is this passivity when it comes to kissing and touching and intimacy and pleasure. It's the idea that like we're supposed to let the other party lead. And in a very heteronormative, heterosexual context, we're supposed to let the guy lead, right? Where even like if I think back to like any time that I've been like quote unquote waiting for a kiss, like literally right there in the sentence, waiting, it's like I'm waiting passively for an experience and the person that's in control is actually not me. And so I'm fully stripped of my agency. I'm like, yes, I can lean in and do the kiss myself and, initiate myself. But there's even like like culturally, there's like a place reserved for those kinds of people as well, those kinds of women who are, if we're the ones initiating, we're considered very bold and we're considered like unique and different. But most of the time, I feel like I'm engaging a passivity where I'm waiting for him to lead. I'm waiting for him to show me what we're supposed to do. And I feel like that also hasn't gone away. It hasn't gone away since I was 19 and it still hasn't gone away because I feel like yes, I'm an assertive person in real life, but for the most part, I'm just waiting around to be told what we're supposed to do next. I think the other thing that, I've really noticed is that often now, as a 25-year-old, I have the courage and I have the strength and I'm really comfortable with vulnerability enough to like say, hey, like, I actually don't know how to do that, Like, I mean, okay, like the tongue, no, I'm still not admitting that I don't know what to do with the tongue because I feel like, okay, side note, like complete sidebar, I feel like I'm always representing like brown girls everywhere when that is happening. When I don't know what to do with the tongue, I feel like I'm literally representing brown girls everywhere. And if I don't show up, and if I don't step up to the plate, it's gonna be a reflection on brown girls everywhere. And so I just keep my mouth not like literally shut, but figuratively shut. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna rock it. And I'm not gonna let this person know that I don't actually know what to do with the tongue because I'm not letting down my brown sisters anywhere. But anyway, coming back to this courage, bravery, vulnerability part, I feel like, yes, I have adopted a sense of vulnerability and courage in my life where I can be forward and I can be open and say, I actually don't know how to do that, right? When I am being intimate with someone. Mom, obviously, like if you're listening to this, like I've never even touched a boy, like I said, but like, I'm just talking hypotheticals. But anyway, when I am with someone, I feel like I'm bold enough to be like, I actually don't know what to do, or I don't like it like that. But I think that we overall as a culture don't necessarily have the safety and I guess like the safety and the space and room to be able to like openly say, I actually don't know what to do. Or, I don't actually feel comfortable doing that. I just think that there's not enough safety. And it starts at home, right? Like, of course, if we're not even seeing our parents kiss, how are we even supposed to know how we want to do it, how we don't want to do it, and then how it extends further into like deeper layers of intimacy and pleasure? We don't have enough safety to actually come out and say, like, I actually don't know what to do, right? Because if we were able to say those things, if there was enough safety in our intimate partner relationships, perhaps things would be a bit different and we would experience pleasure and intimacy in a very different, more empowered, assertive way. But the idea is that, we're supposed to just like know it, right? We're supposed to just know it. And that's where the brown girl guilt really comes in for me because the definition of brown girl guilt is that when we differ or we, sort of stand up against the things that we're supposed to do, that's when we experience guilt. And I'm supposed to know what to do with my own mouth and my own body. And so when I don't, I experience a lot of brown girl guilt, right? I feel guilt because I don't want to let my partner down. I feel guilt because I don't want to let myself down. And, I feel guilty because I feel like I'm supposed to just have figured this out, after all these years of kissing so many people and, being in so many different intimate situations. And yet I don't know what to do, right? I feel like overall, yes, like when I'm able to turn my brain off and really enjoy the present moment, I think that, yes, of course, I can really enjoy what I'm doing. But for the most part, my brain is on overdrive for a lot of it. And I think what I'm doing is experiencing this not knowingness and then judging myself on the not knowingness. So there's like two layers that I'm going through, because one part of me really wants to honor this not knowingness, but then the other part of me is like, no, like you're supposed to know. And so I feel like I go back to being 19 again, the 19 version of me that actually hadn't had her first kiss yet, who was teetering between these two spaces then too, right? I mean, at that time it was, I don't want to give it up right away, and then teetering between, but it's not that big of a deal. And then now as a 25-year-old, again, I feel like I'm caught between these two spaces where I'm thinking to myself, I'm supposed to know, and then I don't know. And so I'm experiencing a not knowingness. And then I'm juggling between, well, no, like you're supposed to know and figure it out, and you're not allowed to sit here and complain about it. And so I guess to even like end this entire episode off, I don't actually know like how we're supposed to combat the not knowingness just quite yet. But I want to take a wild guess and say that perhaps, if if we're already judging ourselves on the not knowingness, perhaps the first step can be that we actually don't judge ourselves on the not knowingness, right? Perhaps we just let ourselves marinate in this, state of not really knowing, in this state of still figuring it out. And we just allow ourselves grace in this navigation of a life that we haven't really actually been taught, right? Like nobody actually comes out and teaches us these things. Brand lead for Brown Girl Guilt, Jeevan, was saying that it's so funny. Like there's this YouTube video, like it's called like How to Kiss with Tongue, and it's been seen like over 500,000 times. And she made a joke and she was like, I bet you it's probably so many of us who have actually clicked it. I've never actually seen it, but I'm going to go watch it after this because maybe that video can tell me what to do with tongue. But anyway, I feel like it doesn't matter whether you've kissed one, you've kissed two, or you've kissed three people. And it doesn't matter if you've kissed like 20. I really don't think it matters how many people you've kissed, because at the end of the day, this not knowingness transcends any of those experiences. And what I really want for myself is I'm going to get clear on that for a second. What do I want for myself? I want for myself to take a deep breath. Straight up. I want myself to take a deep breath. I want myself to get conscious. I want myself to get right in the present moment. And I want to be able to enjoy what's happening in the moment and get out of my head and step out of my head. And I want to stop judging myself on the not knowingness. And I want to actually say to myself that whose knowingness are you trying to prescribe to in the face of your own not knowingness, right? Like my body knows exactly what to do. My mouth knows exactly what to do. Hell, my tongue even knows what to do. And yet, because I'm in my head so much, I'm stripping away what it's supposed to actually be, which is fun. It's supposed to be pleasurable. It's supposed to be intimate. And so that's what I want for myself. I think I just want presence, and I want groundedness, and I want to have fun. And so, I'm just going to end off with a really gentle affirmation. It's never too late to center our desires in a sexual interaction, right? It's never too late to want to center ourselves and to want agency in what we do. And don't let any of the Bollywood movies or any of the Disney movies tell you otherwise.